Hello everyone and welcome to another training session video. Today's video is going to be about teaching effective presentation lessons. And we're going to look at how you can help your students to become more confident. So confidence. What do you think of when you hear the word confidence? Take a minute to think, what does confidence mean to you? Maybe you're saying something like they're not scared. Maybe you're saying that they feel prepared. Maybe you're saying that they're extroverted. Well, something to know is confidence is a skill. It's not just something that people have and that some people don't. So, for example, you say that someone is a very confident person. It doesn't mean that they are an extroverted person. It doesn't mean they have a special characteristic that's, just they have. But confident people can still feel nervous, and confidence is a skill which can be taught. And today we're going to look at how you can help teach your students to be more confident, look more confident, and speak more confidently. So presentations. When students hesitate during presentations, what problems do they normally have? Well, we sort of think about like maybe they don't remember the vocabulary. Maybe they don't know how to begin their presentation. Maybe they don't know how to continue their presentation. Maybe they're scared of making mistakes. They're scared that their friends are going to laugh at them. Their friends are going to think that they're silly, they're stupid. So maybe that this is where their problems lie. And then often, what do we as teachers tell our students when they have these problems? Well, we tell them things like, speak louder, come on, don't be shy, come on, be more confident. But does this really help? I'm going to say no, because think about speak louder. Is what do students actually have to do if they feel like they don't have the ability to speak louder? How can they just instantly start speaking louder? If you tell a student, don't be shy, be confident, don't be afraid, it's okay to make mistakes, does that change how they feel? If you're being very positive and encouraging, sure, that's a very good thing, but that doesn't actually give them confidence. So what we need to think about is, what does confidence look like? In order for us to know what we want to teach them, well, we have to know about, well, what is the end result? What does it look like? And I'm going to argue it looks like this. Confidence looks like when students speak with clear sentences, use correct grammar, correct pronunciation, appropriate vocabulary use. They don't have many long pauses. They have an audible voice, which is an appropriate volume, uses intonation, and it uses stress. We have clear endings, so sentences end purposely rather than hanging or rather than just lots of upwards intonation. They use body language. So all of these things are things that we need to focus on teaching students, focus on how we can help students learn how to do it. Another idea is, imagine I gave you a presentation. And imagine I said, okay, I want you to talk for a minute about why students should read more. Go! Well, I imagine it if I told you to do that, you would instantly freeze, not really know what to do. Compare that to another idea of this one. Talk for a minute about why students don't feel motivated in school. Introduce the topic. Suggest one reason why students don't feel motivated, one thing that teachers can do, one thing that parents could do, restate the problem solution, and thank everybody for listening. Instantly, it's easier for you to do. Why is it easier? It's easier because we're something called reducing the cognitive load. Reducing the cognitive load, it's just a fancy way of saying they have less things to think about. In the first example, is they have many things to think about. They have to think about the language, they have to think about the structures, they have to think about how to order a presentation. Whereas in the second example, is they don't have to think about the structure of the presentation because we are giving it to them. Whereas all they have to think about is the language that they have to use. So when we are teaching presentations, what we have to do is help students to have to wonder about less, have to think about less, to reduce the cognitive load so they can focus on sounding more confident. Think about it like this, right? If I taught you all about a skateboard, I taught you what it was, I taught you all the words that you need to talk about a skateboard, I showed you how to skate a skateboard, and then I gave you a skateboard and I asked you, okay, go, skate. What do you think would happen? Well, I would suggest one of these things. It's not likely to result in a very effective skateboarding session. Presentations are similar because you can't expect to give students vocabulary, give students structures, and then students automatically be good at presenting when they've had no practice or no clear instruction about what they do to become better at it. Whereas just with skateboarding is the first thing I have to do is show you clearly how to stand on a skateboard, then show you how to move on a skateboard and then practice it. Then move up to the next thing, how to move efficiently on a skateboard, how to go down a hill. Presentations are the same thing. Sure, we can teach them vocabulary and grammar, but until we actually teach them presentation skills of how to do things, and then we reduce the cognitive load so that they are able to practice those things, then we can't expect our students to be good at giving presentations. So where do we start? Well, presentation skills, they need to be built up over a long period. So what you need to think about is, like we shared earlier in this training video, about think specific skills that they need. Then you need to plan how you're going to slowly teach your students these specific skills that they need. Because you can't possibly teach them all in one lesson, and you can't go to the very complicated stuff until you've done the basics. So here are some ideas. How to start a presentation, how to end one. How to have confident looking body language. How to make effective eye contact. How to connect ideas together to make it logical, for example, using linkers. How to use props, so PowerPoints and posters. So what you need to do is choose one of these areas, and then, for example, let's say in your first lesson, I'm going to focus on uh, practicing presentation skills, but practicing how to have confident body language. Then you need to give them the tools that they need so they can reduce the cognitive load. They're not worrying about too many things, and then they can practice this specific skill. And this, over a long period of time, is how you help students to be confident presentation givers. Give them something to practice, give them space and time to practice it where they're not too distressed with trying to think about too many things, and they will become better at giving presentations. So think about which one of these skills or a different skill do you want to help with your students in your next presentation class? So let's think about some more ways in which we can give our students support. So let's imagine the topic of free time. Uh, One way you could give them support is give them a word box. Giving them a word box allows them to have access to the vocabulary they need on the board in a clearly visible way. I've done this on a PowerPoint, but you could easily do this at the side of your board. With low-level students, you can provide lots of vocabulary. With higher level students, you could still do this. Even with IELTS level students, you can put the higher level vocabulary within this word box. Then you can give them sentence structures. With these sentence structures and these vocabulary items in this word box, what students have to do is they have to put the vocabulary items in the word box into the sentence structures. And like I spoke about earlier in this video, this reduces the cognitive load. It gives them less to think about so they can focus on being more confident when giving a presentation in this example. Then when they are more confident, they can be more free with editing and adjusting their own sentences or even making their own sentences which are completely different. So word box and sentence structure, here's one idea. Another idea is helping them with pronunciation of given sentences. This can really help them to sound confident because a big part of sounding confident is pronunciation. So here I'm going to give you some ideas of how you could drill sentences or drill multiple sentences to help students sound more natural and confident. The first idea is a mumble drill. So if I take the first sentence, I like to play football in my free time, a mumble drill might look like this. This reduces the stress of students because you're not asking them to get it 100% correct, but you're asking them to copy you and follow along with the intonation of the sentence. And if they can get this right, when it comes to producing the sentence, All they have to do is copy that intonation pattern and insert the words. Another drill could be a slow drill. A slow drill focuses on getting the pronunciation correct. For example, I like to play football in my free time. This drill is great because it really helps them to focus on that mouth position and taking their time to get each sound correct. Next type of drill is a fast drill. I like to play football in my free time. This drill, it gets them to try and play around with the language. Now think about it. Anytime that people do exercise, they always do a warm up. Well, this is like a warm up for your voice. A warm up for presentation skills is the practice manipulating the language and how it sounds. Another one example could be a quiet drill. So you can use a soft voice. I like to play football in my free time. And then you can contrast it with a loud, powerful voice and what we want to say. I like to play football in my free time. And this can help show that the difference between somebody who sounds very quiet and timid, somebody who sounds very confident and outgoing. And this can help them to unlock their powerful voice. And again, we are using the same sentences to drill this pronunciation to reduce the amount of thinking that they have to do. So when they go to do their presentation, they've already practiced a bunch of times. Another example you could do is you could give them a model presentation. And what you could do, this is called a noticing task. You could read out the presentation and have them notice anything special about the pronunciation. I would print this out for my students and give each student a copy of this and let them make notes on the presentations. This is particularly good for teens, IELTS, or adult students, or high-level kids. For example, I would read this maybe 5 times, and each time I read it, I'll give them a different thing for them to try to notice and annotate, make notes on their example copy. Then I would ask them to try and repeat the passage just like I said it, trying to pay attention to the pronunciation features which I inserted into this. This is good because getting them to notice pronunciation features is the first step to getting them to be able to produce these pronunciation features. And getting them to copy your example it's less personal. So when it's less personal, it's less risk and it's easier for them to do it. Then they can go ahead and edit your version to make their version and copy the same pronunciation features. Partner practice. So it's really, really important for students to have an opportunity to practice presentations with partners or in small groups before they perform it in front of the class. Often I see teachers think of the final presentation, final performance as being the most important thing, but it's not. The practice is more important. And when I give my students practice with giving presentations in partners, I always make sure that my listener has a checklist or my listener has a task. For example, they could be evaluating, is your partner loud enough? Let's say our focus today is on using a powerful voice when we're speaking. Or are they clear enough? Let's say that our focus is on slowing down and making sure that we're understood. To have a good start, good end, maybe in this lesson we're focusing on how to begin a presentation or how to close a presentation. How many sentences? Maybe on this lesson we're focusing on fluency and we're trying to get students feeling confident for speaking more. Body language. So maybe in this lesson we are focusing on how you can use your body language to sound confident, give them some simple sentences and have them give each other feedback on how their body language was used. Or maybe use of stress or intonation. Or maybe you could pick a combination of these things. The important thing is that your partners give each other feedback and it's in a reduced stress situation so they feel more confident to actually speak. Individual practice. Here is one example of an activity that you can use for individual practice. Here you can prepare this on your computer or write it on your board. There are 2 dialogues. There is student A and student B. Student A is a dialogue on the left, student B is a dialogue on the right. What will happen is the first pair of students will read the dialogue and then different words will disappear. Then the next pair will continue to read the dialogue. And then the next pair will continue to read the dialogue. And then the next pair will continue to read the dialogue. In the end, the board will be completely covered. This is good because it gives students very controlled practice of pronunciation. It helps them to remember the structures because in the end there's nothing left on the board. And you can get them to overpronounce things. For example, I say, I love playing football with my sister. And making them be a little bit over the top silly can help them feel more comfortable by taking them out of that serious environment. This is a really good activity for helping develop confidence in a very controlled setting. Reflection. An important part of a presentation skills is the reflection at the end. So what you should do at the end of each presentation lesson, you should have students reflect on what they found easy, what they found difficult, what they want to practice more next time. If they are younger students, you can have them give them a smiley face system. So a happy faces, I feel good. And normal faces, it was okay. A sad faces, it was very difficult today. But it's important for you and your students to reflect on this together so you're getting feedback on what students need more help with or how they feel. And that's it. Just last of all, think about which of these steps do you spend the least time on? Do you skip any of these steps? If yes, then think about should you be spending more time in it? Which of these steps do you think will be more helpful to make your students more confident? And what other partner practice activities or good activities do you often use to practice in your classes? I would love it if you could give this video a like and give me a comment below to tell me what you thought about it. Okay, good luck and see you in the next one.